Hello, welcome to Openly Spoken. My name is Celia. On today's episode, we are illuminating love by sitting down and chatting with Pauline Busson. Pauline is a love coach who helps single, independent women date from a place of self-worth, self-trust, and self-responsibility to create secure and fulfilling relationships. And in this episode, we are illuminating love by talking about attachment styles, healing your relationship patterns, finding your soulmate, and everything in between. And here is a little sneak peek of what this conversation has in store.
You don't want them to color, your actions, because they do, whether you know it or not. 95% of unconscious is driving your behavior. So when there is those stories of like, I'm not enough, I don't deserve, or love is dangerous, is gonna influence who you attract as partner and how you show up in a relationship, how you run away from intimacy, how you cling and you chase, all of this. So yes, to attract and to be comfortable with a secure relationship, start with the relationship with yourself.
Welcome to Openly Spoken, the podcast to help you show up, speak out, and be seen. My name is Celia Antonio. I am your host, and I am also your guide to dropping you into your body for unwavering confidence, authentic self-expression, and effortless creativity. And this podcast is a mix of solo and guest conversations all about self-love, relationships, sexuality, spirituality, womanhood, divine feminine energy, and more. My wish for these conversations is that they help you step into loving and accepting all parts of you, that these conversations help you in building a life that you're absolutely in love with, and that these conversations help you express your deepest truth. You can always connect with me over on Instagram at selfexpressbabe, where I would love to hear your thoughts on your favorite episodes and keep these conversations going. I invite you to get cozy as you receive this episode that's about to come through, that you stay curious, that you ask questions, that you take what resonates, and that you, of course, leave out what doesn't. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's get into the episode. Welcome, Pauline, to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Celia. I'm also super happy and excited to be here with you.
Yeah. So let's start with, I'll give you space to introduce yourself to everyone that's listening or maybe watching on YouTube. Who are you? What do you do? And tell me everything. Tell us everything.
Everything. Okay. So I will start with the professional parts. I'm a love coach and I help single, independent women create loving and secure relationship. And I do this with mostly rewiring, healing, addressing what is getting in the way that mostly come from the subconscious, from the past, and showing them where they actually have influence and what they can do to shift, to shift the needle and create the conditions to have this relationship that they want. Mm-hmm. So this is what I do. And I do this with one-on-one coaching and also with group program coaching. And beside that, a little bit about me personally. So I'm French, maybe you can tell by the accents. I live currently in Brazil because my partner is Brazilian. So we've been living here for 3 years now? Yeah, since the pandemic.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So I live here with him and our 2 dogs. And before that, I've had quite a different career as I worked for almost 15 years as a humanitarian aid worker. So all around the world, mostly in emergency settings, managing operation, etc. So yes, and I had a transition through yoga, meditation to love coaching. So voila.
Yeah.
For a start.
It's cool how yoga for a lot of people has been that transitional moment where you were doing something or you were on some sort of path in life and then you go to yoga and you have this like crazy awakening and life is not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, at the time, I started yoga because I needed it because of the stress and responsibility that I had on missions, like to to stay sane, and to
Me
relax a
too.
little bit.
Yeah.
I needed to do this. And then it becomes such a powerful tool that I was like, I want to go deeper. So I started
Mm-hmm.
going on retreats. And then at some point, I was like, I want to become a teacher, mostly for myself. And then I was like, no, 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 no. I need to share those wonderful tools that help you find inner peace and being more connected with yourself. And from there, this was like
Mm-hmm.
deeper and going deeper into that path of consciousness and self connection.
And I'm sure all of that like has helped you personally in the realm of relationships and maybe even like some of those teachings you've brought in with what you do now. Because it's
Oh,
so important,
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
interconnection.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, yeah, before having any idea even that love coaching existed, it was the
Mm-hmm.
first opportunity to connect with myself and know myself at a different level, that my role, because I was very identifying with who I was as a manager, working for
Mm,
so and so organization, being a doer and achiever. So it was a way to find inner peace, to calm, to reach a different state of, yeah, consciousness and being that is useful, of course, now for guiding my clients also into that path, because it's when you are in that space that you can make different choices, when you're not only reacting. You can
mm-hmm.
pause, you can soothe, you can
Mm-hmm.
heal also. That's the first step, is always awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awareness of
Yeah.
what is. So such a powerful first step. Mm.
Yeah. So how do you like with your clients play with that kind of balance of like we're doing these things to have the relationship, like the yang side of it, but then there's also the yin of like you have to surrender because the man that you're attracted to, I don't know, might not be interested at all, but you're doing all these
Yeah.
things to like get the man or get the woman
Yeah.
or get the person.
Yeah, well, so there is a both. And I love talking about polarity, about the two angles, of yin and yang, or masculine and feminine. So I'm not so much like a dating coach, like I push them or to do so and so, but of course I encourage them to do whatever is possible for them, to create opportunities to meet a person, to meet some, a special someone, and to create a relationship. But first and foremost, the work that we do is connecting with themselves,
Mm,
knowing their resources, finding their resources. And if we go back towards yoga philosophy, I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but one of the main scripture is the Bhagavad Gita, that is basically, you're committed, you have a goal and it's clear. And this, I think, is important when we talk about searching for love, is like not as a goal like an achiever, but claiming it,
mm,
um, owning your longing. Because for most of us, and I work mostly with women, so, and I think it's the same for men, there is a vulnerability, there is a certain shame for some people to say, I want to be loved and I want to
mm,
love. To talk about love, it feels
yeah.
icky for some people, right?
Yeah.
So if we talk about the yang, or goal, is like claiming it and say, it's an important need for a human, and I want it, and I value my desire. And so because I value my desire to be in a relationship, I'm going to and I know that it's not going to fall onto my lap. There's
Mm-hmm.
something that I could do. I'm going to take actions. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to try to meet people. I'm going to give a chance. I'm going to open up. So these are all the things this anyone who wants to be in a relationship can do. But of course, this has to be balanced with finding peace with what is,
Mm,
finding peace and acceptance with, being single in the moment, enjoying being single, because it's also a beautiful journey, So
yeah.
being like, yes, I want this, I claim this, and I'm gonna get it. I believe in it, building this belief, but in the same time, not losing yourself in the quest, not losing your life, your balance, your health, your friends, your career. No, no, you keep your balance. You're safely grounded in yourself, in your body, in your life, and from there, it's like a cherry on the cake. Is not somebody to complete you, to make you whole. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is where the balance is achieved, is knowing that you are already whole. You have everything. And then if you want more, if you want a relationship, go for it and you can get it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How common do you think that is where people are, instead of living a whole life and enjoying themselves and being okay with themselves, that they're looking for someone else? And then like, because I've seen this a lot, people live to like, their decisions are made based on getting a partner.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, maybe they'll, eat well or go to the gym and stuff, but it's to look hot for a partner, and
Mm.
like their whole identity is around finding that person.
Yeah.
How common would you think that that is based on your experience?
I would say it's quite common, but if it's not a partner, it can be something else.
Mm,
For example, I was talking about my previous career that was very fulfilling and very consuming. You being a humanitarian worker, there's nothing else that matters. So it's finding fulfillment and finding wholeness and finding joy outside of yourself. So
okay.
whether it's like for a partner and or it could be in career, or it can be in other thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, and looking to, but I think it's common for most of us, even if it's not, even if it's not appearing like this, if it's not like you say, like I go to the gym or I dress up just to find a guy. I think it can be also very subtle
Mm-hmm.
that we are counting on somebody else to make us feel lovable and complete, like the word
Yeah.
lovable, and to validate us. This, I see this a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
this is explained that we pick partner that has a certain status or physical appearance, or yeah, meet some part of us that are not necessarily the most healthiest part, I would say, that are
Mm-hmm.
here to try to heal a wound that
Yeah.
we can heal first and foremost by ourselves, and then we can
Mm-hmm.
continue healing it in a relationship.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's an important piece too, that like there's healing work that you do on your own. And then when you're in a relationship that's aligned, there's so much that can happen in
Yes,
there,
right.
because you have that safety of like, here's this person who fully and completely unconditionally accepts you, and like you've told them secrets that you maybe didn't tell your ex, and they're like, oh, okay, like that's fine. I'm and I'm just speaking from like my personal experience and like
Yeah.
some of the things that my friends have shared with me. And yeah, there's a lot of healing that happens in a space like that.
Yeah, and
Beautiful.
that's interesting because there's a lot of books on relationship, and that there's like two schools, two
Hmm.
stands, and some are like, no, first you have to do the healing for yourself before being in a relationship, and others are like, no, you can only heal in a relationship because the first wounds regarding attachment with your parents happen in a relationship. My
Mm,
point of view is that is the both are true, that if you're single, start healing, right now, start the work right now, and if you're in a
yeah,
relationship, you will use both of it. And
I love
I
that.
think as
Start wherever you are. Yeah.
start wherever you are, and then to go back to this stage of first stage, that is for me awareness of what is coming up, awareness of your triggers, awareness of your fears. This will give you a hint of the all invisible construction that is underneath the patterns and the fears, like what is really happening, what is really the story you're telling yourself, what is really the wound that is there. And the work of healing those wounds and rewiring um, yourself to feel secure in relationship, to allow yourself to go towards secure partners and build secure relationship, can be done in and outside relationship.
Mm,
And I've seen this in my own journey because, of course, I've done a lot of healing before being in my relationship. As you know, we studied the same course. So you know that in this course, we
yeah.
do a lot of inner healing, right? But I continue to work with my partner, and he also has wounded part and trigger. And because we have this, let's say, safe container, we know what's happening, we are able, and we feel safe enough to communicate,
Hmm.
we are able to help each other out.
Hmm.
And I also see this with clients who have entered relationship thanks to the work we've done together, and who are stepping outside of their comfort zone to be able to say, like, right now I feel super scared, I feel super vulnerable.
Yeah.
And when the partner responds is like, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, like this is a huge part of the healing. you know
Yeah. Yeah.
you can be messy and afraid and
Mm-hmm.
anxious, and I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying here. And then
Mm-hmm. And the first
yeah,
time you experience that, you're like, wait, what?
yeah,
Relationships like this
exactly.
exist?
Yes, yes.
It's beautiful.
Without being boring, because I've had the
Yeah.
case
Yeah.
of clients who had this experience, and I may have had this belief at some point that there was two types of relationship: the, let's say, secure one with the good guy but boring, that you
Mm-hmm.
don't really want to stay, and the hot attraction, and that, like, no, you can have those two in one. Like,
Yeah.
you can have attraction and chemistry, but you can also have comfort and safety. Like, of course, it's something that, a fine line that you always work with to keep the mystery, to keep the desire. That's another question. but 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 it's possible, those partnership exists, and yes, and they need to be, let's say, yes, building some security inside of you to be able to go towards these partnerships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You mentioned earlier, you talked about how with a lot of people, like a common thing that you see is there's this kind of like shame or ickiness that comes up with admitting that people want someone to love. Can you speak more to that and kind of like,
Of course.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I would say this was definitely my case. I was like, clearly, I want a partner, but to use the word love, to say, I want to be
Mm,
loved, like it's important,
feels
and
vulnerable.
it feels vulnerable. This is why, if I go back to the idea of setting a goal and being committed to your goal, for many women that I work with, they are independent, they are high achieving. So, of course, in their life, they set goals at work. I want to get this job, I want to get this promotion, maybe to lose weight, maybe to learn a new skill. They are used to do this because, like, they set their mind on something, and then they take the action. But suddenly, when we talk about relationship, then, okay, this is chaotic, confusion, scariness. It's like, oh no, this is completely, it feels completely out of control, and it feels very vulnerable, it feels very scary. For most of them, they wouldn't speak in those words. It's when we start talking that, yes, those fears come up.
Mm,
But those fears are shown, you can tell they're there when you see people who they attract, or that they would not dare writing on their dating profile that they want something serious. This is something I check with all of them. It's like, did you write you want something serious? If you do, of course,
yeah.
because it's not natural. It's like, it feels I'm going to be seen, exposed.
Mm-hmm.
What if somebody has an opinion about that? What if somebody, yeah, I see
Mm-hmm.
this a lot.
Yeah.
So reclaiming and saying, no, I own my desire, is important for me, I'm okay with this is a huge part of also building this trust already for yourself, saying it
Yeah.
matters to me.
Mm-hmm. It's important to know too that there are so many different types of people out there who all want different things. So there's always going to be someone that aligns with like what you're looking for.
Yes, exactly.
Like, for example, there's a lot of, I guess, talk out there where it's like, oh, don't say that you want a committed relationship, you'll scare men away. And it's like,
Yes,
you will scare men away, but just the ones that don't want that.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And this is a conversation I have often, is, what would you gain in writing this down, in saying it out loud? What will
Yeah.
you gain? Well, you will gain time. You'll stop
Yeah.
wasting time.
Yeah.
You will
You'll
gain
stop
time.
wasting your time. Yeah,
You'll stop
exactly.
wasting your time. And you don't have to be full transparent and say everything that you want on the first date, but you can
Mm-hmm.
hint. You can save yourself some yeah, some useless dates by just saying, for first and foremost, what you want. For sure, for sure. But
Mm-hmm.
for this, you need to be okay. You need to be at peace with that yourself. You need to own it.
Yeah. Yeah, which leads me to kind of something that I wanted to talk about is like dating yourself or having like a relationship with yourself. Because I
Yes.
feel like the program that you were in that I'm currently in, like I feel like that's what it's cultivating.
Mm.
It's cultivating like a relationship with you where you are your own lover, you are your own best friend, you're getting your love, safety, and belonging from within yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Just so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's so important for me. That's remained that's the centerpiece of going and creating another relationship with someone else. Because what happened is that it's not even most of us, it's all of us. We came with what I call a blueprint of love, like some
Mm.
understanding of what love is how much love can be safe or not. It's coming from our childhood. And no matter what kind of childhood we had, from the most loving to the most traumatic, we all have imprints that are not usually that can be not supportive. We can have some fears about intimacy, about opening up, about being abandoned, rejected. We can have
Mhm.
some belief that deep down we're not worthy, we're not enough, we're not lovable. So all of us, like 100% of the women I work with, and a few men I work with as well, we have this in the background. So this needs to be addressed. You want to you don't want them to color your actions, because they do, whether you know it or not. The
Mhm.
95% of unconscious is driving your behavior. So when
Yeah.
there is those stories of like, I'm not enough, I don't deserve, or love is dangerous, is going to influence who you attract as partner, and how you show up in a relationship, how you run away from intimacy, how you cling and you chase, all of this. So yes, to attract and to be comfortable with a secure relationship, start with the relationship with yourself. Because to come back to what you have control over, you do have control about that. This
Mhm.
is like a huge journey, no, huge, I mean, like wonderful, wonderful journey to get to know yourself, get to know your body. You talk about being your own lover. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
being your lover, your own lover, what you desire, what turns you on. Like, this is one part, but of course, treating yourself with love. Because
Mhm.
lots of people talk about self-love, and I know you do talk about self-love also, right? And
Yeah.
I think it's so, so important. But for some people, they still feel like it's abstract. It's like self-care, having a nice bubble bath, but it's so much more than that. Like
Yeah. It's
the
so
way you
much more.
talk to yourself, the way you treat yourself, the way you catch yourself when you're falling, when you're
Mhm.
facing setbacks and obstacle, which will happen, in love, in
Mhm.
life, anytime. Like how you take care of yourself in those moments, how you
Mhm.
choose to look at your past, your body, your intelligence, like whatever. You can look at all these pieces, and for all of this, we can be more loving with ourselves.
Mhm.
And from this place of, I know myself, I feel connected with who I am, I know myself, and I love myself, and I know I will be there, I will have my own back no matter what. This is what, for me, builds trust. And
Yeah.
from that place of trust, then if you have what they say trust issues, then you can open up more easily, because you have this anchor, you have this solidity in yourself that makes it like, whatever happened, if somebody ghosts me, if I get heartbroken, I will be
Mhm.
there for myself. I will be
Mhm.
able to go through the turmoil and pick myself up the ground. I know how to do this. I've done it.
Mhm.
And this is what makes it like, yeah, this is what for me is essential in the journey. It's working on that self connection, self love, to heal the worthiness wounds that may be there, to heal
Mhm.
the mistrust or the fear of trusting that may be there.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
think one of the things that scare people away from that, like cultivating that self-trust and that self-love and stuff, is because when you take that time to really look at yourself, every human has like shadow and dark.
Mhm.
And like you said, looking at these things of how we run away from relationships, or maybe like how we've self-sabotaged, or like even our relationship history, like when we actually sit and be honest and look at it, it can bring up a lot of like shame or maybe
Mhm.
self-judgment.
Yes.
So if there's anyone listening who maybe is stopped with self-love, because it just really breaks my heart that people come to that point and it's like, oh, like I'm just a bad person, like I just can't love
Mm.
myself. Like it just breaks my heart, because I think with self-love, if you have that, you can do anything, anything. But without it, like you're whatever it is from your past, you're just carrying it over your shoulder for your whole life, and it's just not necessary, and it just really breaks my heart. So yeah, can you speak to that?
Yeah, and I get you because I'm in the same situation. I have women who come to me and who are clearly like, I would love to be my best friend. I hear those things about being your own best friend, but I cannot comprehend what it means because
Mm,
I'm judging myself constantly. I live with a very strong inner critic. I've had clients like this. And I would start with like, yeah, start wherever you are. It's
yeah.
okay. Like there's work you can do on your own, but then there's work you can do, with being accompanied by, therapists or coaches on that specific aspect. And that's about unpacking, allowing yourself to go in the, in the shadow, in the darkness. But it doesn't have to be all dark and scary. You can go step by step and unpacking those different things. And for me, it comes down to stories, mental stories that you make about yourself,
Yeah.
whole narrative about I did this means I'm a bad person, etc. So need to look at this and need to
Yeah.
rewrite it. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other part is the emotion that are there. So I would say it depends. Sometimes, like when you talk about shame, and I have this, um, have women, for example, who haven't been in relationship for a long time for different reasons, and they have a strong shame about that. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot talk about it. I'm like, no, it's okay. There were some reasons, some reason you chose, some reason that were conscious. For example, focusing on the career, some other
Mm-hmm.
reason, which is like, as we all have like a baggage of a history of like conditioning or wounds that we inherited from
Yeah.
our childhood or past relationship, or even before. We don't know if
Mm-hmm.
about collective trauma, um, but but there's nothing that we cannot do. We can this is healable. I don't know if it's a word in English, but shame and talking to yourself harshly, you can change that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If there is one message I want to say, is like, I've seen people completely change their relationship with themselves in 6 months. Or it started, like, the results were before 6 months, but in 6 months, like, wow. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people who had a hard time, maybe going back to when you were saying about people who search for validation or completion with a partner,
Mm-hmm.
or I was talking about, I see more people with their career who put all their energy in their career, fulfillment in their career.
Yeah.
And often those people are people who are not able to sit with themselves. It doesn't mean necessarily meditating, but people who have a hard time spending a weekend on their own.
Yeah.
It's because there's this voice in the head that is like
Mm.
so critical, and there's this pleasant sensation in the body that we need to be doing something. We need to get busy. We need to achieve. We need to produce.
Yeah.
We need to bring the focus outside. So it's a rewiring to be like, okay, what is inside? Like, unpacking the boxes. Who is that person? Because yes, we're going to find the shame. We're going to find the stories, but we're also going to find beautiful things. We're going to find joy. We're going to find power. We're going to find life lessons, beautiful relationship that they have. And this is the work that we do. If we go into the shadow, but what's underneath the shadow? A lot of energy, a lot of positive things. So
Yeah.
that's make the journey rewarding. Is like, you don't go to the shadow just for unpacking your shame stories or grief story, but because it's going to free so much freedom, so much energy, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to make your life much more joyful and peaceful,
Mm-hmm.
really.
How much of the, like, I guess, relationship success would you point back to, like, working on your relationship with your parents? Because I
Ooh.
feel like that is a
Lots.
juicy one.
That's a good question. 100%, not 100%, but a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. From your parents, your caretaker, what you learn from there. Um, yeah, not only, I think it's important to talk about this one, but I think it's important to add the past relationship you've had, because they can also, mess
Yeah.
you up in a way. They can change
Mm-hmm.
your attachment system.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, mostly it comes from childhood and relationship with the parents.
That's so interesting. I've never heard that before, that, like, you have some learned attachment system with your parents, but then like as you go on to dating, that can change your attachment system.
Yes,
That's fascinating.
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm today years old first hearing that.
Yeah. It can change if you are, let's say secure, a little bit anxious, and you start a relationship with someone who is very avoidant. It makes you more anxious. Being
Okay.
with somebody secure can make you more secure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two ways to change two ways, intentional, not intentionally, but yes, your relationship can change your attachment style and the work you do on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So your relationship can affect you positively and negatively, and the work you do on yourself, well, I hope mostly positively.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yes, you can absolutely change it. Absolutely.
That's cool. That makes
Yeah.
sense because we were talking earlier about how there's like healing work you can do on your own, and then within a relationship, there's healing work too. So it makes sense that it would change that. And when you were talking about separating fact from story, that was when the question came up in my mind of like the parent, changing the parent relationship, because something that I found very helpful in my own like healing journey, not necessarily the relationship, but I would say yeah, because inner healing affects that, is like going back as far back as you can and remembering a story with like a mom or a dad. And for example, I'll just use like a random example. If your mom couldn't come to your soccer game, right? And when you're 6 years old, you make that mean like, oh, she doesn't love me. And it like ends up being this big
Yeah.
thing. But then as an adult, oh, my cat.
Yes.
As an adult, when you could go back on that, you can like separate what you felt while still honoring it, but also like see what actually happened. Like she wasn't there because she was maybe working so that I can afford to go to soccer. So she does love me. So
Yeah.
it's like very interesting how we can.
Yeah. And this can be done through the stories, but also through the body, because those imprints of not being loved, not love being lovable, or that love is dangerous, that there's a threat there. And it's important what you're saying, because this can come from real lack, I would say, or perceived lack. The
Yeah.
important is what you perceive, because when we are, the first part of the nervous system development is really before 18 months, and then it continues until you're 7 year old. I mean, into all the inner child work, like your most of your conditioning comes before 7 year old. You're not rational. And I don't know who says that kids are kind of narcissistic. They think the world turn around them. So if something happened, oh, it's because of me. If you see your parent, your mom crying because maybe the relationship with the dad is not going well, you may think it's because of me. So you start creating some narrative and then some emotions in your body of like, there's something that starts being built in your nervous system, in your brain. And so yes, we can go back. And like, yeah, I could perceive that my mom was sad and it was not about me. It could be like this. But I call this the invisible construction, because in my work, it usually takes some time that we actually touch this. And I take the time. We take the time. We don't do this in the
Yeah.
first session. We start with like, what is the pattern? How is things showing up? Who you're picking as partner? How you're showing up in relationship? And from there, we're like, okay, this seems like fears around intimacy. Where can it come from?
Yeah.
And ideally, we want to know. We don't have to know exactly the details, but we want to have a sense of where it's coming from. So questions that are interesting to ask is like, what did you learn about love from your parent, from your mom, your dad, from their relationship together, separately? And yeah, but I'm if I think of my clients, current and past, a lot come from the relationship with the parents, of allowing yourself to be seen, knowing that's love, that you can love, that love is safe. People who had
Yeah.
like abusive parents, or parents with mental health issues, or who had to play a role in the relationship, who had to be like the intermediates in the fight between the parents. So there's so many configuration, but yes, at the end, it's mostly those two wounds that are like either, oh, okay, no, love is like not cool, I don't want to get close to that, it seems like terrifying, or there's something wrong with me. One of
Mm-hmm.
those two are usually
Mm-hmm.
the main wounds, I would say.
Yeah. Is there like maybe a go-to practice or something that you want to offer in this podcast for somebody to do to
Hmm.
kind of start this journey?
Yeah, let me think. Let me think. Well, maybe I can suggest two, because I love to talk about the mind and the body, and to have really those two approaches. So if I think of the mind, I would start with the question that I was mentioning. I would start with in, by inquiring, being curious about what is going on in my love life. What are the patterns? What I'm seeing emerging? What's I call the tip of the iceberg? Like, am I drawn to a certain type of person? Am I experiencing the same negative emotions in relationship? Do I react similarly oftentimes? So, starting to track, like, how is there any common denominator in your relationships and in your partners and in your behaviors in relationship,
Mm-hmm.
whether or outcome, to start looking at this. And from this tip of the iceberg, um, maybe wondering, like, where is that coming from, by asking, what did I learn about love as a kids, from my parents, from seeing them, from what they share explicitly, with what I learned from how they loved me or not,
Mm-hmm.
to ask yourself these questions. And now with the body I will start with the simplest, because I don't want to overwhelm anyone who is not into yoga or nothing tantra complicated, but bringing awareness. The first one is really bringing awareness to your thoughts and to your construction, to your mental construction, but then practicing awareness of your body regularly. I mean, this is very general, but this is so important,
Mm-hmm.
to be connected to how you're feeling in your body moment to moment. And maybe noticing, if you're dating and looking for love, like at some key moments. So if you're feeling anxious before a date, like, notice how you're feeling anxious, how the anxiety is showing up, and taking deep breath, relaxing. If you're going through a heartbreak or disappointment, notice how this shows up in your body. Just starting this simple practice, start to tell your body to, it's kind of unwinding what
Mm-hmm.
is there anyway, and is making space for what is. And we
Yeah.
talk about, being your best friend, your own lover, is already allowing yourself to feel, uh, is already huge, because most of
Yeah.
us are running in autopilot, not connecting to our feeling body, and not aware about all the signals that are being sent, because we are afraid of those signals. We don't want to feel uncomfortable sensations. So start to be curious,
Mm-hmm.
noticing when you're feeling joyful, when you're feeling grateful, excited, noticing how your body is showing you those emotion. And then also, when you're going through something maybe more difficult, noticing how your body is also showing you this anxiety, or.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, maybe very general, but start paying attention to your body's
Yeah.
sensation moment to moment. Be intentional about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I love how those two work together because you can feel maybe not wanting to go out to a club to find a date or whatever. Like you could feel that dread, but then the
Mm-hmm.
mind is so powerful that the mind can start playing stories of like, but if I
Mm.
don't go, I'll be single forever and da 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 da. And I know a lot of people experience that and then they're doing things anyways. Like I've definitely
Mm.
been there with friendship. Like I used to
Mm.
do a lot of things that I didn't really want to do, but I did it because I thought that was how you socialize. For example, going
Mm.
out and drinking. I don't enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I used to do it a lot because I thought that that was the only way to make friends.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see like what the mind then makes whatever you're being like whatever story the mind creates of what you're being aware that your body is telling you.
Yeah. And for me, that takes me maybe to another point, that is, um, I love the expression, living life on your own terms. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's the same thing for your love life. Like, you don't have to go through dating apps. You don't have to, you get to choose, you get to choose what you want to think about yourself. You get to choose what you want to think about love. So when we talk about healing and rewriting those past stories, is taking power, taking agency, taking, like deciding what you want to write. And so, yeah, it starts with the past stories and it continues with the current stories, knowing
Mm-hmm.
that the brain likes to replay past stories over and over again because it's wastes less energy this way. So,
Yeah.
yes, catching your thoughts is a whole other practice that is so important to say, okay, stop. No, I don't want this preconditioning like to keep running about how
Yeah.
I'm supposed to behave, how a woman is supposed to behave, how much space I can take, if I'm comfortable being seen, whatever. No, this is how I want to see myself. This is what I want to do, and creating the condition for you to go after what you want and do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would even say that like what the body is telling you is more true than what is going on here in the
Yes.
thoughts.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, 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 mm.
So I have a few questions that I like to ask towards the end.
Yes.
And the first one is, what does self-love mean to you?
Mm. Self love is the way you see yourself, is seeing yourself and treating yourself with love. And that starts with acceptance. Then
Mm-hmm.
there's care, there's love, there is respect, there's commitments. Basically, all the elements that are in love, when you think of romantic love, applying that to you.
I love
Commit,
that.
respect, accept, take care of yourself,
I love
know
that.
yourself also. Yes.
And then what makes you feel the most grounded?
Hmm. Closing my eyes and noticing how my body feels,
Mm-hmm.
and noticing, just mindful practices can be my breathing, my breath, can be right now I'm sitting like cross-legged. So I feel like this base is like really grounding me.
Yeah.
So yes,
I'm
connection with
sitting
my
like that
body.
too.
Yeah, I love like this. So yeah, being connected and aware of how my body is feeling, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And then what is your favorite part about being a woman?
So many things. My God. Favorite part. That's a good question. I don't think I answer that. Hmm.
You could let it land for a moment.
Ah, we can have incredible orgasms. I would
I
say.
love that.
I'm guessing better than the men. I'm guessing. I
Mm-hmm.
never know, but I would say I think we can have a variety of pleasure and orgasm, and yeah, I would say more variety and expensiveness than men, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for everyone who's listening, where can they find you online? And then if you are including any like links in the show notes to like a freebie or something like that, um,
Yes,
feel free to
sure.
talk about that as well.
Yeah, so people can find me on all the regular platforms with my name, Pauline Busson. So I guess the link will be there. But so I'm on
Yeah.
Instagram, I'm on Facebook, mostly those two, I would say. And so I offer free discovery call for anyone who is interested in working with me. So to get to know each other and know how it would look like, and then decide. So this is there, and I have a meditation journey to love to help you already working on those conditioning, on those programs, and changing that. So yes, we can put the link, or it's on my website, and you can have this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
then are there any like maybe like a closing message or closing words or anything else you want to add to our conversation before we close out today?
Yes. Yes. Maybe as we were talking at the beginning of the conversation, um, that everything is possible. This is something that my clients sometimes tell me at the end of the program.
Mm,
That's um, And if you're struggling to find love, if you are thinking it's not possible or it's complicated, I want to tell you that it doesn't have to be, and that it's possible. It's possible. We talked a lot about self-love, so it's possible to completely change your relationship with yourself and to become, your best friend, your person, your,
Mm-hmm.
soulmate. You can do that. And from that place, you can also attract, go after, allow in uh,
Mm-hmm.
a healthy, secure, loving relationship. Like, yeah, my message is really, it's possible. And together with that, there's so much that you have influence over, so many things you can do
Mm-hmm.
that are in your power, that are, possible for you to change, and then allow the universe to meet you halfway, and to
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, make the magic happen. But on your side, there's already so much that you can do.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. And all you need to start with that is having the desire
Exactly. Going
to,
back to that.
mhm. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Making space for the desire, because life is like this. Like, there's always going to be the pole of desire and the pole of fear. And you get to decide what you want to do with the fear and with the desire. So you can decide to
Mm.
put more energy in the desire, and the fear become its friend, understand it better. You're not going to make it disappear by snapping your finger, but you can befriend it. That's another story. But fuel the desire, go after it, claim it. Yes, own
Yeah.
it,
I
for
love
sure.
that. I feel like that could be a whole other conversation too, the fear and
Yeah.
desire.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Openly Spoken. I know that there's an abundance of content online, so I really appreciate you giving me your ears today. If this episode shifted something for you, please share this with a friend or write us a podcast review if you're listening to this on iTunes so that more people can find this. If anything shifted for you from this episode that you want to have a conversation about, I would love to hear from you. Just send me a DM over on Instagram at selfexpressbabe, and that is in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.